Have you ever been going down a rabbit hole on YouTube at 2 a.m. and suddenly you find yourself watching a VHS style tape warning you not to look at the moon? If you have, congrats, you were knee deep in the analog horror genre. But before we found the internet flooded with these kind of videos and series like Mandela Catalog, Local 58, and The Man in the Suit, there was something simpler that ruled over the online landscape. Something creepy.
Say that again?
Yes, I'm yapping about Creepypasta again, but today I'm gonna get my hands dirty and get into the Godzilla NES Creepypasta. It's one of my favorite creepypastas, and it combines two of my favorite interests, Godzilla and horror. So, what's not to love? For those who are uninitiated, a creepypasta is basically an internet campfire story that gets copy and pasted around, usually with some creepy pics to add to the speculation and the mystery. Godzilla NES is a super long one, but it's still a creepypasta and it offers some good unsettling moments. As for a brief intro, I'm Mr. Ratio, and I'm giving Mr. Plus a break today, and we shall be going through the story and significance of Godzilla NES, the creepypasta.
But before I let you get too far, just wanted to say if you're new here and enjoy your watching, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below, including the subscribe and bell notification so you can be a part of every new upload. Also, real quick, just wanted to mention that me and some of the gang are going to be at Phoenix Fan Fusion all 3 days, June 6th through the 8th. Not affiliated with the event in any way, just going to have a fun time, so if any of you already have your tickets or were planning on it, you might see some familiar faces. Be sure to follow us on our Instagram to get more details as the event comes closer. But anyways, now you can pass through.
So the story starts off with Zack, our protagonist, a relatively chill guy reliving his childhood memories. He dusts off his old NES and he decides to revisit Godzilla, Monster of Monsters. You know, some good old classic retro vibes mixed with giant monsters bashing the shit out of each other. Everything seems normal at first. Nostalgic music, Godzilla sprite, stomping through planets like it's his 9 to 5, but then something becomes off. Instead of the expected enemy lineup, Zack encounters Titanosaurus on Mars, who wasn't even in the original game. It's basically the same thing as if you were playing Fortnite and you came across Darth Vader. Oh, wait. It's if you were playing Call of Duty and suddenly Seth Rogen. Oh, god damn it. Naturally, Zack is confused, but also kinda hyped because, hey, new monster. So he goes with it and continues to the next opponent. This next opponent is supposed to be Godzilla, but his sprite is acting like it had a Mr. Boss tweak out session. It starts glitching out, and instead of doing the normal death animation, Godzilla just freezes. Suddenly, a bunch of eyeballs start spawning across the screen. Zack brushes it off and moves on to fight Moguera, who is strangely larger and much more difficult than Zack remembering. Moguera also has his own glitch death animation. He essentially vaporizes and melts. Finally, we get to Titanosaurus, who is surprisingly normal. He has a standard size and standard boss difficulty. Zack finishes the level, but continues to feel like something is off. Little does Zack know, he's in for the ride of his life with the rest of this game. After this level, the next planet is supposed to be Jupiter, but to Zack's confusion, the next level is titled Pathos, Eerie. The board loads up and it's a different color than what Jupiter is supposed to be, and Zack notices Biolante as the level's boss. But Biolante wasn't introduced into Godzilla lore until a year after Godzilla NES came out. Zack doesn't have a good explanation for this other than maybe a hidden boss fight to hype up the upcoming movie, but he's not really content with that idea. The first stage sets the tone for the rest of this godforsaken game. The sky is black, the moon looks like it's bleeding Kool-Aid, and the background music is just kinda ominous and unnerving. There are no enemies, just silence and this weird terrain. Zack goes to a different few stages on Pathos, but every stage is the same empty style of terrain, no enemies, other than like a weird orange cave level thing. He fights a few mini-bosses, and after he defeats Biolante, a new stage appears where Biolante was, but there's this demonic-looking face on the stage instead. Zack is exploring when suddenly an on-screen text pops up. Run. Not in a cutesy Mario way, either. Before Zack can even process what's going on, this grotesque abomination just shows up. It has long limbs, dead eyes, you know, just the whole it would have fit perfectly in Silent Hill. And it starts chasing him. It's fast, and it pretty much has an insta-kill if it gets to you. Zack is successful in evading the monster and questions what the hell is happening with this game. That monster was never in a Godzilla movie. This is supposed to be a children's game. Zack realizes he has to beat this stage again with Mothra if he wants to get to the next planet. But when he moves Mothra's icon to the next level, the game registers him as beating the stage, and we continue to the next planet, Trance. Zach is still processing the eerie events of Pathos, and he enters trance, a world that feels like the game is trying to hypnotize him into going crazy. The map music is unsettling, it's reminiscent of the theme from Videodrome, it's super eerie. When he looks at the map menu, Zach is shocked to see Orga, kaiju who didn't debut until 2000, appearing in a game from 1988. The presence of a question mark icon on the app piques Zach's curiosity, leading him to the first of many quiz levels. These levels feature Face, a strange emoticon-like entity who asks a series of yes or no questions, ranging from really weird, like, is the sun hot, to deeply personal, like, have you killed anyone? These questions are random and unsettling, and it just adds to the overall just uneasiness of the game. After the quiz, Zach explores the Green Temples, a new level in trance. The temples are disorienting and confusing. They have hypnotic music, bizarre enemies, including a flying ghost with a trunk, and a bat with a horse skull for a face. The visuals are strange and unsettling, contributing to the game's overall just weird atmosphere. Zach then faces Orga, who exhibits behaviors from his 2000 debut film, such as attempting to absorb Godzilla's energy. After defeating Orga, Zach proceeds to the base level, which mirrors the previous one. The strange creature starts chasing Zach relentlessly, and Zach has to dodge new obstacles that the monster either destroys or just straight up eat when it comes across them. Zach barely escapes and yells, "Not this time, asshole," but as soon as the words left Zach's mouth, the monster did something Zach never expected. The monster turns and looks at him. Zach, understandably, is freaked the fuck out, and he moves on to the next level, hoping he could come up with some type of explanation. Dementia. Dementia's not the explanation. Dementia is the name of the next planet. When Zach lands on Dementia, things are instantly off. The map shows 4 boss encounters on this planet, and 2 of them are newer monsters from the Toho movies. Zach explores and he unlocks our main man, Aguirre, as a playable character. Zach loads up the first stage as Anguirus, and the landscape looks all green and gloomy, and like the terrain is like a corrupted version of the Earth stages. One of the standout horrors of this chapter is a level literally called Unforgiving Cold. It's a nightmarish frozen dungeon filled with hostile creatures and jumpscare energy. The deeper Zach explores, the more unhinged everything starts to become. He enters what looks like a living castle, filled with the blank white statues stuck with permanent screams. The longer he plays, the more it feels like the game's not trying to scare him, it's trying to break him. Zach goes through some more boss fights against new creatures that have the names of actual Godzilla enemies, but these new creatures are their own thing. The last fight that Zach has is against Space Godzilla, which was a challenge to say the least. During the battle, Space Godzilla shoots out these spikes that you either have to destroy, or else he gains energy from them, and even when you get close to him, he basically throws hands that are equally devastating as Godzilla's. But Zach defeats him, and now there is one last thing to do. Run. This level, with the creature, Zach decides to play as Anguirus, since Anguirus has a roll move that helps him traverse significantly faster than Godzilla or Mothra. This level eventually has a sea of blood that Zach must run/swim through, with multiple obstacles like mines and bottomless pits. But Zach again successfully evades the creature and starts the next planet, Entropy. Zach's journey continues into the world of Entropy, a vast and haunting realm. The board music sets the tone of the world. It starts with this mournful violin that gradually just distorts and becomes very unsettling. The game strips away all the other monsters, and Face's strange quizzes have not yielded any fruitful answers. Zach is then forced to play as Mothra, a character he previously avoided due to her weak attacks and vulnerability. The first level Zach encounters is a forest, but not the serene kind. The background is pitch black, the music features eerie woodwinds, slow drums, and chiming bells. The enemies here are strange, long-legged deer-like creatures that don't attack, but they run away when they're approached. As Zach progresses, he encounters more bizarre creatures, including a sloth-like beaked creature and these raptor-esque beasts that are preying on the deer. Overall, the creatures seem to ignore Zach unless provoked, but they still add to the unsettling atmosphere. It's a world where the usual rules don't apply, and Zach feels more like an observer than an actual player. The levels themselves are challenging, with enemies that seem to defy logic, and environments that feel more like nightmares than game stages. Zack battles a few different mini-bosses here and there, and a vast multitude of prehistoric creatures, and these other alien animal things. One of the most disturbing moments occurs when Zack defeats a creature he dubs the Moon Beast.
The moon haunts you!
Which accurately hatches from the moon itself and turns into this fucking thing. The Moon Beast proves to be the most difficult boss in the game so far, and playing as Mothra makes it close to impossible. Like, it's as if you're playing a level of Cuphead. After the battle, the game forces him to confront a painful memory from his past involving a friend named Melissa. So some backstory for Melissa. When Zack was in middle school, he had a best friend named Melissa, who suffered from these episodes where she would stop doing what she's doing and stand or sit perfectly still. Her speech would become robotic and monotone, and she would have no facial expressions. Once an episode ended, she would start trembling and essentially shut down for several minutes. But Zack says he still cared for her deeply, and one night when they were out on the field looking at the moon, she went into one of these episodes. But she suddenly got up and sprinted into oncoming traffic, and Zack witnessed her get ran over and killed. So the whole Moon Beast seemed to trigger some type of realization that the game knows Zack's memories. Because as soon as the beast died, this popped up on the screen, and proceeded to transform and distort afterwards. Zack is understandably beyond shocked and confused, and he cannot believe what he just witnessed. The game seems to be alive and knows his memories. It adapts to him, yet it focuses on the most traumatic event of his life, and it taunts him. Yet he feels like he cannot put the controller down. Zack decides to keep playing after taking a few minutes to process everything, and he figures he has to see how this ends. Zack moves on to the next level, the Gold Labyrinth. Upon entering, he notices that this Mothra sprite has shrunk to half its original size. The music here is haunting, it's slow, it has these ominous drum beats and female vocals that kick in about a minute into the level. The labyrinth itself is vast and maze-like. There's lava blockades, new enemies, and the statue faces scattered around. One statue in particular catches his attention, a wide-eyed face that eerily resembles the expression of his late friend Melissa when she was ran over. He decides to explore Indigo Cliffs, a level that resembles the Blue-Green Mountains from earlier in the game. The level features a shredded look, recolored clouds, and a deep rumbling noise as background music. Here, Zack encounters a group of multicolored creatures with these really big heads that emerge from caves. These creatures walk in these very synchronized patterns, and they seem to basically ignore him. However, when they reach a cliff, they begin jumping off into the abyss, ending their own lives. Another group of creatures is snatched up by large birds, resembling the giant condor from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. At the end of the level, he encounters another group of creatures marching towards a large monster to be devoured. Disturbed by these events, Zack destroys the cave, causing the monster to become angry and attack him. Despite its relentless pursuit, the monster is no match for Zack's Mothra. With Indigo Cliffs completed, Zack plans his next moves. He intends to face Batra first, followed by Megalon, before tackling the Shadow Labyrinth and confronting Mecha Godzilla. Each boss presents a relatively standard difficulty, with Zack using Mothra's abilities and maneuverability to dodge attacks. Halfway through the Mecha Godzilla fight, however, the sprite of Mecha glitches and distorts, and not Mecha Godzilla spawns in, with this humanoid face and new attack moves. Zack is ultimately able to beat it, and lastly we have the chase level. The level is a red labyrinth that Mothra must fly through while being chased by the red monster, but now with upgraded wings. Zack figures he found a way to outmaneuver the monster, but it simply tears through the wall and continues to chase him. Zack finally finds the exit and is a sweaty mess, but he pushes on to the next planet, Extus. Extus is an extremely long chapter, and a lot happens, but also not a lot happens at the same time. It's a lot of fluff and filler for the most part, honestly. Zack plays as a new character, Solomon, this blue hairy creature with bat wings and a skull face, for a chunk of this planet and its stages. A few levels involve Godzilla as well, and both characters traverse through new environments such as these laboratories, large halls, cities, even like a pyramid-looking area. There are tons of new foes in each level that present different challenges, and overall reinforced the idea that nothing about this game is normal. As Zack battles through the bosses, he finally makes his way to the boss he has been dreading, Ghidorah, or not Ghidorah, as Zack refers to him. This stage starts with Zack having to battle each replacement monster from the previous bosses on Extus, so the new sprites that carried the names of established Godzilla foes. Zack finally beats them all, and the main event arrives. A creature so fearsome, so terrible, so mind-bendingly large that those of you with weak constitutions may want to leave the video.
I gotta get out of here!
Too late, ready or not, here he comes. Oh, that's it? Well, I mean, this should be easy. Oh, okay. So, this is the Chimera, a Frankenstein of all the other replacement bosses that Zack has fought so far. This proves to be the hardest boss in the game so far, again. Each body part has its own health, essentially, and all must be destroyed before Zack can destroy the head. Before he can destroy the head. Zack battles for so long, and he has to keep juggling between Godzilla and Solomon, that he loses count of how long he's battled the monster for. But he finally defeats it, and he's prepared to face the Hellbeast at the end of the planet as usual. But instead of that creepy red face, there's a crucifix symbol instead. So Zack loads in as Godzilla, and he's in a graveyard at night, empty. Unsure of what is happening, Zack runs through the map to find no enemies, or any signs of life really. And he also notices that the music is an 8-bit version of Prayer for Peace from the first Godzilla film, a very sad and powerful song. But as Zack is running around the map, he comes across this statue-esque blue humanoid being that's floating in the air. The being just sits there, not reacting to Godzilla or Zack, and he initially wants to run, but he chooses to stay. As he stays and watches the creature, he starts to feel a sense of calm and peace looking at it. Right as Zack is about to leave, the Hellbeast appears, warping the music and the environment, and it lunges for Godzilla. The angel jumps in the way of the beast, and the beast starts to claw and attack the angel, causing bleeding from its legs and eyes. So Zack uses its sacrifice to escape, still being chased by the Hellbeast as it eats the remains of the angel. As Zack escapes, he remembers the last time he spoke to the game, so this time he says, "You're going to pay," and this is the reaction that he got from the monster. Zenith, the final world. Zenith is divided into several disturbing levels, so I'm just going to go kind of in order here, essentially. The first is another quiz level with Face, and upon entering, Zack encounters a grotesque version of Face, the Quizmaster. As Zack enters the quiz level, he comes across a grotesque version of Face, whose appearance is distorted beyond recognition. The screen glitches ominously, setting the tone for what lies ahead. The next level is the Red Temple. It's essentially a shrine dedicated to the Hellbeast, featuring abominations and statues of the Hellbeast, and at the end, there's a Red Angel boss fight, which summons legions of other enemies that Zack must defeat. The next level features 2 segments filled with red, distorted versions of previous kaiju. The music is a jarring cacophony, making the experience even more just chilling. The kaiju all contort together to form a massive kaiju that Zack must defeat. The beast has about the same difficulty as the Moon Beast, but Zack kills it, and it falls down and disintegrates. After this, Zack encounters the Blood Lake. The Blood Lake starts off with a river of blood surrounded by thorny vines. The music is faint, with echoes that sound like underwater drumming, adding to the eerie ambience. Zack plays as Anguirus in this level, and he traverses underwater and fights these humanoid sea creatures. As Zack roams, he's interrupted by this screen for 30 seconds. Then, after this, he comes across a dead end, with a dead, pregnant humanoid creature hung from a tree with a spine as the noose. The corpse's stomach rips open and a bat demon creature emerges and serves as the Blood Lake's ending boss. Zack then continues to this organic level. He essentially descends into this real fleshy nightmare, with enemies resembling hellhounds and tapeworms. The ground itself seems alive, attempting to consume Godzilla if he stands still for too long. The level has arguably the most visceral visuals, with each enemy having a fleshy texture, and it looks like it was made in almost like a meat factory. The final boss in this is this T-Rex dog floating thing that Zack is finally able to kill. Finally, the last main level in Zenith is this Inferno-like level. It's a fiery landscape filled with centaurs, magma monsters, and these serpents. The background is ablaze, and the enemies are overall just demonic in nature. This level, Zack plays as Solomon, who has to fight a bunch of mini-enemies before a giant demon with a mane of hair rises out of the lava. And this demon is massive. No, not in that way. Zack had to be strategic with this one since it has a massive fire breath attack, so Solomon had to wait for basically prime opportunities to get in some hits, and Zack's finally able to defeat it again, and he moves on to fight King Ghidorah. Ghidorah proves to be a threat and sees through Godzilla's attacks, so Zack must adapt and use a few different moves and dodges to beat him. But as soon as Godzilla destroys the middle head, Ghidorah sheds his skin and transforms into Mecha King Ghidorah. The timer for the match runs out, so Zack decides to use Solomon to defeat King Ghidorah, which proves to be beneficial since Solomon is equal strength and he's able to slash and use a heat beam to defeat Ghidorah. The second to last boss fight of Zenith is Destroya, which Zack switches between all 4 of his monsters to defeat as Destroya evolves between different forms. On Destroya's final form, it takes Godzilla, Anguirus, and Solomon's combined moves to defeat the monster, and Zack is now on his way to the Showdown of a Century. The Hellbeast returns in this final showdown, and his name is revealed to be Red by the health bar. The enemy that has been tormenting and stalking Zack all throughout this playthrough proves to be an absolute unit on the battlefield. Zack quickly realizes that when his character gets attacked, he feels physical pain in response to this, and when he tries to get up, he's paralyzed from the waist down. Red proceeds to threaten Zack on screen, saying that you aren't leaving, and he proceeds to throw a hurl of insults and threats as the battle continues. Once round 1 concludes, Zack switches to Anguirus, but Red decides to be a little bitch, and he hides off screen throwing these mines before sneak attacking Anguirus. Zack switches to Mothra to try to even the odds, but immediately Mothra gets absolutely obliterated and eaten by Red. One monster is now dead. Solomon is next up, and Red talks to him briefly, saying that Solomon is a traitor, and he hated him the most. But Solomon has his own words to share by saying that he would rather die than serve Red. Solomon is able to finally defeat Red, and Red crumples to the ground, defeated. Psych. Red then transforms into this giant kaiju form, worm thing, and Solomon is so tiny compared to him. The arena also transforms into this hellish landscape. Red is not done with Zack. Solomon gets absolutely decimated by a fireball move from Red, and to finish off Solomon, Red crushes him beneath his foot. Another monster is now dead. Anguirus, you're up. Oh, okay, well, never mind. Red then drops a bombshell while taunting Zack. He has known Zack for a long time, and Red is the one who killed Melissa. Red proceeds to tell Zack to send his last monster to his death, and Zack goes back to the menu to pick Godzilla and to process the news that he just received. Then, Zack remembers that there was a 5th secret monster on the screen from the very beginning that he had forgot about, but to no avail, it does not let him select it. Godzilla it is. Godzilla fares no better than the others, and at the end of his health, Red grabs Godzilla and eats him whole, and he proceeds to stare down Zack triumphantly as the screen switches to a defeating game over. Zack begins to feel his heart stop almost, and he is on the verge of passing out. Suddenly, a blue glitch takes over the game over screen, and the angel from earlier appears. The angel reveals itself to be Melissa, trapped inside the game and tortured by Red. She tells Zack that he must defeat Red, or else Red will kill him next, and that she will release the one who can help Zack defeat Red. She finishes her quick talk by telling Zack she loves him and to not give up. Back on the menu screen, the 5th monster, named Acacius, is now unlocked thanks to Melissa. Acacius proves to be the most powerful monster in the game so far, and he deals devastating blows to Red and is able to dodge Red's massive environmental attacks. It's an even battle between each monster, and each of them takes out chunks of health from the other. But Zack is finally able to deliver the killing blow with a sliver of health left on him. Red finally crumbles to dust, and Acacius is beamed back to the graveyard with Melissa. All of the other monsters are also revived with Acacius. Melissa tells Zack that he has saved all of them, and they are forever grateful. She bids farewell, and she tells Zack that they will be together again someday. Her message fades to black, and Zack is brought back to the title screen. Zack's epilogue reveals it has been 3 weeks since he has beaten the game on that fateful night. After beating the game, he unplugged the NES, removed the cartridge, and he put them in separate drawers, unsure of what to do. The next day, Zack calls up his friend Billy, Billy being the one who gave him the game in the first place. Billy shows up, and at first he doesn't believe Zack, but after reviewing the screen captures that Zack captured throughout the playthrough, Billy was speechless. Billy explains that he got the game from one of his friends who he trades games with. They attempt to contact the third-party friend, but he is equally as baffled and surprised, and he hangs up immediately. And this essentially offers little to no insight for Zack or Billy. One lingering question Zack has, but he has no answer to, is to who was Red, and how did he know Zack? But ever since that night, Zack feels like he's being watched, and he has sunk into a depression after that night. Zack ponders for days on what to do, debating between playing the game again or destroying the cartridge. Anytime he tries to plug in the NES, he's reminded of the physical pain he felt fighting Red, as well as being unsure of how the game worked, and he didn't want to risk anything new happening starting it again. So he decides to throw it in a lake to be destroyed. But after holding the cartridge, he thought of how the cartridge was the only thing that saved Melissa's soul, and he couldn't bring himself to throw it. So Zack reveals he took the selfish route, and decided to sell the game on eBay. Not for money, but for taking the burden of it away and having it be someone else's problem. He wrote this summary as a warning to whoever purchases the game, and so they know what they are getting into. He cannot guarantee anyone's safety or what will happen when the game is booted up again, if anything happens. Zack ends his warning with, "Whatever happens, if the game feels like it's messing with you, shut the damn thing off." And that concludes Godzilla NES. It's definitely a little bit of a longer one, and there's a lot more that I didn't even go over, but if you enjoyed it, I highly recommend you go read it yourself. It's a doozy of a ride. The ending is a little anticlimactic in terms of like the epilogue, and it leaves more questions than answers, but it keeps it open-ended for you to kind of form your own opinions, or even room for any like continuation possibly. But overall, this entry offers quite extensive world building, a creepy factor of being watched and stalked by Red. It also does a great job with the custom screenshots and character designs, which has allowed people to develop their own playable versions of this game and its story. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Godzilla NES being the kind of, I don't want to call it like the father of like Godzilla horror, but it's definitely like one of the first ones I could think of, honestly, to be like a horror Godzilla. So it's interesting to see how it's evolved, obviously, from this to like the Man at the Suit and all the other Godzilla analog horrors that we have out right now. Please don't forget to like, sub, share, follow our socials, our Discord server, and if you have any other recommendations or suggestions of series or stories you want us to go over, please leave a comment down below. I thank you if you made it this far in the video, and I hope you enjoyed your time here today. And if you want to view any of our other content, feel free to check out our channel. We have a lot of other series that we go over. On that note, I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, and I shall see you guys in the next video. See ya!